Okay, so I'm back and it looks like I have a delay on my computer. I don't know why, but anyway, um, this is the third day of everything, and I wanted to go ahead and make a video. I literally just got back from the gym, so I'm still sweaty and gross, but in order to be concise, so I don't blab on and on and on, I made notes. So if you see a piece of paper, that's what this is. But I told you in my first video that I was going to give kind of the backstory as to why I am where I am and the goal that I have and everything. So from the beginning. So my weight gain started in the summer of 2011 after I was a part of an accident on the interstate. I was hit from behind, and the guy smashed me into a truck in front of me, and I had literally head-to-toe injuries. And so I spent that summer in recovery. I went from training for a marathon and being a gym rat all the time, being very active, yada yada yada, never once thinking about my weight or things of that nature, to being bedridden for the entire summer. And it just completely sent me into a tailspin. It was awful. It was probably one of the worst experiences, one of the most traumatic experiences I've ever had, and it was literally head-to-toe injuries. Because I went from going from 100 miles an hour to 0 miles an hour, as in like being involved and being active and all those things, I went into a major depression. And it did not help that literally the entire summer I had no visitors. When I got home from the hospital, I didn't have a single friend to come visit me. People from my church, work, nobody came to visit me, and I spent months recovering on the couch in my family room, and it was horrible. My family didn't understand. I got a lot of pressure as to like, why can't I do this and that, and I feel like the only person that kind of understood a little bit and kind of gave me a break was my mom, because she is right now considered permanently disabled from an autoimmune disease that she has, and I guess I'll go more into that a little later. But because it was head-to-toe injuries, I also had like brain injury, and I still deal with that, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But it's the injuries that people can't see that are often misunderstood the most. And so as my body was healing, I kind of understood that, but then what was going on in my head, it confused me. So the depression was just incredible. And it was, again, it was the worst. The doctor, my primary care physician, encouraged me to take off, like completely take off for 6 months, but I was so anxious to do something. Like I felt like I was going out of my mind because I could do nothing, that I insisted on going back to school. And it was my senior year. I had my senior music recital coming up. I was a music major back in undergrad and all these things, and I did not want to fall behind. So I made the decision against my doctor's best wishes for me to go back to school, because I literally felt like I was going insane. I couldn't do anything. So I went back to school, and it was really horrible. I was like hobbling around school. It took me so like 5 times longer to learn something, to read something, to memorize my music, to just learn the music. It was, in all my classes, I started having these like sleeping spells where I would like all of a sudden fall asleep. Like it was really, really bad. And I still struggle with it, not nearly as bad as it was initially. But boy, that first semester back to school, it was the worst. I cried every single night for like the majority of the semester. It was terrible, and no one understood. I had friends who got upset and were no longer friends because they thought, you're being in a certain way, and I'm like, I'm not myself, and I still feel like I'm not myself. It was awful. Anyway, so it was like that, and then I got into grad school, moved away from home, and all this. So it was those stressors, and like Oh my gosh, it was just crazy. Because I was in the car accident, the guy unfortunately totaled my car, so I started graduate school without a car. So getting around a new city, and having to do all these things and meeting all the expectations of school and teaching and all these things with no car, that was a huge stress. And then the injuries that I had and trying to move groceries, it was exhausting. If I wasn't in school, if I wasn't teaching, I was sleeping. It was crazy. So that's kind of where the tailspin of my weight gain started. And it was in the summer of 2011, and I am still struggling with it. Before that, I did not have a problem with my weight. I never had to think about my weight because it just wasn't an issue. I grew up a very active kid. I was on the cross country team. I almost made company in dance. I was a ballerina. I was on a swim team, a dive team. When I got to college, I became a gym rat. I started training for a marathon, like I mentioned earlier. Very, very active. So it just, I was never one of those people where I flaunted my weight or, the fact that I had a good body, because I'm not that kind of person to think that way. But I just never had to think about it. I never had to worry about if a store had my size pants or my size dress or whatever, because weight was never an issue for me. So now that it is, I think back on those times and I realize that I must have taken that blessing for granted, because now having to worry about my size being gone, or how my stomach looks from the side, or the way my thighs look, or whatever, it's it's an entirely new experience. Um, so by character, I am shy, and I am sorry. Um, I've always been shy. I've always been the quiet one, like kind of like the wallflower kind of kid growing up. I'm one of four, but I do plenty of things by myself, and I love to just keep to myself. I'm very much an introvert rather than an extrovert, but I've become even more so, almost in some ways like a, oh gosh, what is it? Like a hermit. Yeah, like a hermit, because I'm so self-aware of my imperfections. Oh, that's the other thing. When I was in the car accident, before, and this probably seems very superficial, but before the accident, I never wore makeup, like ever, because I never worried about it. But I don't know what it was, but when I had the accident, something triggered that now, like, you can probably see like some like marks or whatever, like, and that's been a big thing for me. For me too, because people are always talking in your face, and I feel like since then it's been rare for me to have um, like clear complexion, or to not have marks or whatever, little things. And that may seem like not a big deal to some people, but when you've gone through some of the things that I have, like, there's some things you just don't want to have to worry about, so that's been another thing too. I said I was going to be candid and real, and so that's what I'm doing. So anyway, my shyness has really been amplified because I am just hyper aware of these things, that I feel like I wish if I could get past, like, some things in my life would just be so much easier. So yeah, it's affected my, okay, so I'm looking at areas it has affected. Socially, I already talked about that. I keep very few friends. I've always been like that because I like to have meaningful friendships, not just acquaintances and just, oh, she's my friend just because she's my friend. No, I like to have meaningful, deep, long-term, lasting friendships, but I'm even more so aware of that now. My self-confidence, it's like totally shot. Like, I have some really good days where and also being a music person, if I hear a certain song for the day, I will just play it all day, and I'm just on top of the world. But it fluctuates, and I don't want my self-confidence to fluctuate like that. And I think a lot of people read that, even though that's not how I'm trying to come across. Like, I have a really good poker face when I go out, when I'm around other people and whatever, I can be very happy, but I think that that self-consciousness is still very much like, it's like the tip of the iceberg. Like, I can be very jovial and all these things when I'm teaching or when I have to be professional. I'm very outgoing and all these things, but it's because it's for my job. It's for survival, if you will. But when it's just me, you know, I think people can read it on myself a lot more than I realize. So I really want to get a hold of that. Also, and you'll probably see these sometimes on the videos, I will have brain lapses. And whenever I teach, I will tell my students this. I'll say, you know, sometimes I'll just stop talking altogether, or it'll just sound like a jumble of words and I'll just have to stop, and I'll get red and flustered sometimes. It's because of the brain injury, and I can't help it. I just kind of have to let it pass. It's like a brainstorm, what have you, or whatever. So I'm very aware of that, which I think is another reason why I tend to be on the more quiet side, because I don't want to, quote unquote, make a fool of myself. Okay, well, that was a lot. Oh, I have a couple of other things. And I know it's almost 11 and a half minutes, so I'm going to try to wrap this up. But the other thing that I realized after the accident, because I've been dealing with the depression and the self-consciousness and everything, I will fluctuate in my eating habits. Now, beforehand, like, if it wasn't good for me, it was not going in my body. But now, and I know so much knowledge about health and fitness and all these things, but for some reason my my self-will is like really shot. Like, it is really, really low. And I think I mentioned in the first video that I eat really well, but it's not consistent. Like, I can go all day. Like today, after I came home from church, I had a really good meal, like a really healthy meal. I had a quinoa and cucumbers and tomatoes, like cold cucumber tomato salad. I had like a cleansing drink for the drink, and water, and I had, a sweet potato that I baked, and I felt like there was something else. And kale. I made kale. And so it's all healthy options. But it is now about a little after 5:30 now, while I'm making this video, and I feel like by the end of the day, I'm going to find like some quarter somewhere, and I'm gonna go get an ice cream cone or something. Like, I'll just blow it at the end of the day, and I don't know why. It was never like that before. I will give myself cheat days, but it is, and I think that's why I'm not seeing consistent results the way I want to, because for whatever reason, that thing within me is just not there, you know. And then I'll also have days where I just will binge on just terrible, terrible things, and then I feel bad, and it's just like a vicious cycle. So it's pretty bad. Triggers, stress, anxiety. I have a lot, unfortunately, going on, like negative things in my family, and family is very important to me, so it affects me almost immediately. Stress of school, stress of, we all know, student loans, and you know that's gonna come due one day, and you know, just what it means to be an adult. All those things is just racing in my head day after day after day, making deadlines. I'm writing my thesis this semester, like working on research. All these things are always racing in my head, and it is so stressful to me. And it's just, I can't shut it off, and that's a really big trigger for me. And then of course my low confidence. Like, I'm always just so self-aware that it will trigger me. If I feel like, you know, my stomach doesn't look right, I'll go and get, you know, a cinnamon twist or whatever from Taco Bell. What sense does that make? You know, especially if I just went to the gym earlier, I burned all these calories, I've been eating really well all day, why would I go mess it up? You know, so I'm trying to figure out all these things and get back to myself. I feel like I haven't been myself since that car accident, and I am desperately trying to figure out why. Alright, I promise I'm wrapping this up like right now. So, my goals. Weight loss. it's not just for my health, it's for my mental well-being, that I can find that quiet confidence. I'm not one of those like have to be the life of the party and all these things. No, I have that quiet strength, and I feel like I don't have it anymore. So I really want to get back to that. Oops. Okay, my computer was going to sleep. Counseling. I really want to be consistent in counseling. I only went to a counseling session like once at my university, and for anyone who is in school, take advantage of your university services because they are freaking amazing. It's like universities and colleges, they're like mini towns. Like, they're really like self-sufficient. It's awesome. And I know I'm one to talk, but because I'm not consistent, but I really want to start talking through some of the things that are going on, my weight, what's going on in my family, just things that are so stressful for me. And add this little inset. Depression is real. Y'all, anyone who's going through depression, if you have a friend that's going through depression, please love on them, because it is a real illness. It is very real, and anyone who hasn't been through it cannot even begin to imagine to what extent it can affect a person's life. It can be so destructive. So that's another reason why I want to go into counseling, to really get to the root of this depression and uproot it from the foundation. My social life and self-confidence. If I'm not at school now, I'm at my apartment. Like, I make a beeline to my apartment, and I'm almost like a hermit once I get all my responsibilities done. And I don't want to be that way. I want to be able to get out and make friends and meet people and all these things. I have like this goal to like almost like date myself, where I have time like once a week where I go and experience something. I get dressed up just for the heck of it and do all these things just because I can, and not just sit in all the time, watch television and eat and do chores. Boring, but that is what I'm doing now, and I'm getting tired of it. Okay, and I said make new friends. So as a part of this, I have a friend who we've been talking for I don't know how many years now, but one of the coolest guys I think I've ever had as a friend, and we have agreed to, I'm not going to say his name because I didn't ask him before I made this video, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to call him RL. We have decided to be accountability partners as we go through our weight loss journey and becoming more self-confident and, just getting back to who we are. And I just wanted to go ahead and say thank you. We will be checking out each other's videos and just encouraging each other. As anyone who's watching this is watching this, I encourage you to find somebody that you can talk to, because it really for me it's been almost like a salve on a wound. It's been really healing, and I really look forward to this. And so, RL, thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me. I really, really appreciate it. And there will be a whole lot more videos to come. So, I am done. I did not mean to make this video as long as I did. But thank you for watching. And we will just see how it goes. So, I will talk to you guys later. Thanks so much.